Authorities in the UAE announced the temporary shutting of the country's airspace after an Iranian drone struck an oil tank farm in the Emirate of Fujairah early on Tuesday. On Monday, Iranian attacks targeted the emirate as well as Dubai International Airport as its retaliatory campaign continues to reel the wider region into conflict and instability. U.S. President Donald Trump says Tehran's reckless strikes were not anticipated by Washington.
I heard they were sending missiles to UAE. I said, that's strange. You know, UAE is like the banker for Iran. They're like the banker. Qatar, their neighbors, they got along okay. Saudi Arabia. All of a sudden, Kuwait is getting hit. Bahrain is getting hit. All these countries are getting hit. There was no expert that would say that was going to happen.
The Israeli army announced early on Tuesday that it was carrying out new strikes across Iran, targeting military sites as it looks to eliminate the country's offensive posture. The IDF also said they were expanding attacks into neighboring Lebanon, where limited and targeted ground operations are taking place against the Iran-backed Hezbollah group.
נערכנו למלחמה הזאת ממושכת, נערכנו לזה שחיזבאללה יפתח באש. אני מזכיר שעוד לפני פתיחת המערכה היו לנו 5 מוצבים בחזית ליישובים שלנו לאורך גבול הצפון.
Meanwhile, the Trump administration is continuing to push for international assistance to establish a policing force to secure the vital Strait of Hormuz and stabilize a global energy price crisis. Brent crude continued to trade at over $100 a barrel on Tuesday, roughly 40% higher than pre-war figures. Trump has previously threatened that a lack of cooperation could signal a very bad future for NATO allies, who have so far been reluctant to commit to his proposal.
Here in Dubai, we had public warning alerts go off in the early hours of the morning. It's the first time we have heard them since Friday, and we're told it was a similar situation in Doha overnight. Now, what followed here was possibly the loudest boom that we have heard since the war with Iran began. Now, the air defense systems here are doing an incredible job, and the authorities have expressed their deep gratitude to the European countries who are aiding that defense, in particular France, Italy, Germany and the UK. Now, Iran are putting economic pressure across the region, across the Gulf, and of course this will have a ripple effect to the wider global economy. Now, Iran are also maintaining that stranglehold on the Strait of Hormuz. In addition, they've now started a social media scare campaign, sending out warnings, I guess trying to put some kind of psychological pressure on people as they ramp up their gameplay. Of course, this comes as the new Iranian supreme leader remains unseen since his election. Leaked audio this morning has revealed that he actually cheated death by just seconds when he stepped out into his garden as a missile hit his home, killing his father. Also today, Kuwait's Ministry of Interior have announced that they arrested Hezbollah-affiliated terrorist cell. Now, that's the third country in the region to arrest cells who have been linked to destabilization, sabotage and espionage. Jane Witherspoon, Euronews in Dubai.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has met with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer in London for talks on peace and sanctions on Russia. Starmer stressed the importance of continued support for Ukraine despite the ongoing US-Israeli war in Iran.
I think it's really important that we're clear that the focus must remain on Ukraine. There is obviously a conflict in Iran going on in the Middle East, but we can't lose focus on what's going on in Ukraine and the need for our support there. And secondly, it's really important that we're clear and consistent that Putin can't be the one who benefits from the conflict in Iran, whether that's oil prices or the dropping of sanctions. For your support.
Zelensky said the talks would also assess energy security after Russia hammered Ukraine's power grid over the winter and the battlefield situation. He also criticized Washington's move to ease oil sanctions on Russia in a bid to ease pressure on global supplies triggered by the war in the Middle East. He warned that it would provide a windfall for Moscow to keep up its attacks on Ukraine.
Ukraine has agreed to an external inspection of the damaged Druzhba pipeline funded by the European Union, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and European Council President Antonio Costa said on Tuesday. The announcement was made just 2 days before European leaders gather in Brussels for a summit hoping to lift Hungary's veto on a 90 billion euros loan for Kyiv.
The Ukrainian authorities are welcoming the technical support that we offered, that we put on the table, technical and financial support. And in this sense, an expert is available to go to Ukraine.
Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban claims the pipeline is operational and has been kept shut by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky for political reasons to influence the upcoming Hungarian elections on the 12th of April. Zelensky argued the interruption was caused by Russian attacks on the infrastructure and complained he was being pressured by European allies to reopen the pipeline.
Advancing biotechnology.
A rising number of non-communicable diseases, shortages of healthcare workers, and a growing aging population are shaping the European health landscape. Speaking at Euronews Health Summit on Tuesday, European Health Commissioner Oliver Varhelyi emphasized the need to protect Europe's distinct healthcare model while also stressing the need for reform.
The European healthcare model is unique in the world. It is unique, and we should preserve it. Nowhere else you have such universal coverage of the state-of-the-art diagnostics and treatment. But I must also tell you that the signs are not very good. The signs are pointing that this model is under major challenge. We must face the reality, therefore, that the system is under pressure, and we just cannot take it for granted that it will stay with us tomorrow as well.
The Commissioner outlined several European reforms aimed at strengthening the Union and boosting resilience and crisis response. From a revamp to the bloc's pharmaceutical rules to a biotech act aimed at making it easier to bring products from the laboratory to the market, simplification is at the core of the initiatives.
We're living in uncertain times. By simplifying what should be simplified, implementing and enforcing and updating our rules, we move further towards the future we want. A future where innovation thrives and ideas are turned into treatments much faster, where preventing disease is the norm, and where Europeans can expect only the best from their healthcare system.
Varhelyi noted the new initiatives will put the European health industry at the forefront of the global innovation race and will deliver the best health technologies to the citizens.
March 17 is the highlight of the Irish calendar as millions celebrate St. Patrick's Day across the globe and in its historic homeland. For this centuries-old celebration of heritage and culture, revelers wear green clothes to dance to traditional music and witness one of the world's most famous parades. The festivities draw hundreds of thousands of visitors to Dublin, where the city's epic 4-day festival concludes with a vibrant march from Parnell Square to the city centre. Beyond Ireland, the day is being marked by high-profile visits abroad. In Washington, D.C., U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and his wife Usha welcomed the Taoiseach of Ireland, Michel Martin, and his wife Mary to the Naval Observatory after hosting them to a traditional Irish-American St. Patrick's Day breakfast. The Taoiseach is also scheduled to meet with President Donald Trump at the White House before attending a formal lunch with lawmakers at the Capitol. Back in Ireland, the atmosphere remains festive as treasure hunts, art installations, theatre and traditional Caidi sessions continue throughout the evening to mark the national holiday.
qu'on voit, c'est vraiment l'union de la création de nouvelles roches, de création de la Terre, et qui vient frapper l'océan, qui vient la caresser. On voit les deux qui fusionnent, quoi, vraiment. Là, on voit l'ébullition qui se crée là, juste sous nos yeux, avec cette vapeur qui se dégage. Enfin, c'est puissant, c'est mystique, c'est fabuleux.
On a de la chance puisque c'est un terrain assez difficile, arriver jusqu'ici, donc il faut vraiment le vouloir. Il faut être équipé, voilà, parce qu'il ne faut pas faire n'importe quoi, ça reste un volcan, ça peut être dangereux. Et chanceux, fasciné, parce que c'est un magnifique spectacle.
Le caractère un peu original de cette éruption, c'est qu'elle dure assez longtemps. On a eu des éruptions qui ont duré plus longtemps, mais c'est quelque chose par rapport aux dernières éruptions qui est assez notable pour cette éruption et ce qui explique pourquoi on atteint finalement depuis cette nuit l'océan.